Alrighty, let's move on. Georgia Tech in Miami. I mean, Haynes King gets the start. But it wasn't just Haynes King at quarterback. Aaron Philo getting mixed in there. Buster Faulkner. Now, Miami's defense, we talked about in this preview, not being really great. Like, there have been a lot of instances where they've given up explosive plays and they've been susceptible to give. And honestly, it's been Cam Ward in this offense. It's kept them in games and kept them winning in the fourth quarter of games. But man, we talked about this coaching staff for Georgia Tech is, if not one of the best coaching staffs in the ACC, maybe the country at the coordinator level. Buster Faulkner, absolute master class. Tyler Santucci, late in the game, finding ways to get stops and get off the field. Just masterclass. And Jamal Haynes going down early, right? Your running back, the guy that's kind of the offense has been centered around for a majority of the season, who's had so much success. He goes down early. It doesn't matter. And he had that big touchdown run and then goes down. You don't have him for the rest of the game. You don't have him for 3 quarters, and you still find a way to win this game. Just Georgia Tech, man. Brent Key is awesome, dude. Brent Key is awesome.
This was the definition of a all hands on deck, type win for Georgia Tech. It was awesome. Haynes King was battling up. You could tell he was struggling out there. I mean, what they did offensively, what they did defensively in their game plan was incredible. You mentioned getting out the field in key spots here. I'm going to run a couple of big plays here, big moments for Miami. We talked about, what are the ways, what's the path for Georgia Tech victory? And I said in the preview, it was run the ball well, which you did, check. Control time possession and make Cam Ward be perfect and just hope he is not. He has been perfect all season long. He has been incredible. But a couple of key plays here, 3rd and 5 at the Georgia Tech 23 in that first quarter there, and you get a stop there. Cam Ward incomplete. That was big. 4th and 3 at the Georgia Tech 23, and you get a stop there. Just another stop right there. And then in that third quarter, 4th and 1 at the Georgia Tech 39, another stop. Cam Ward incomplete. Then you get into the fourth quarter, 4th and 16 on the Georgia Tech 22. Miami's down a couple scores here. They kind of have to go for it, and he's sacked. And then all of a sudden the fumble there at the end when you thought Miami was going to get the ball back and just be able to go down and score. And all of a sudden the strip sack there. Hell of a play by Georgia Tech. Hell of a win. And then you get the ice. You get the ice there with the big run. Just a ballsy play there, the touch pass or whatever it was to Eric Singleton. And then he goes down. We talked about it earlier with Cal. He went down, a different ACC game, and that was big. And sometimes those are winning plays, and they did it all game. It was awesome. Georgia Tech is going bowling. They've got a chance to add to that total here with a bye week, and then North Carolina State, who is struggling. And by the way, Georgia too. I don't think Georgia's going to overlook Georgia Tech, but man, oh man, do they look vulnerable as well. So hats off this team. As for Miami, I do want to ask them going forward. Obviously, they are still very much in play for the ACC championship game, very much in play for the playoffs. But we've seen the writing on the wall in a couple weeks here, and we talked about Georgia Tech being a team that can take advantage of some of the concerns. And obviously, you felt pretty good. You put them on your dirty dogs. You put Georgia Tech to cover. You felt pretty good about all that. Does this change how you view Miami? Is this kind of just more validating? Is like, maybe they're not quite this elite football team that their record probably, showed us. But what's your thoughts here?
I mean, I think we've seen it for a while now, and they've won games, and that's credit to them, credit to Cam Ward. They have a really talented team. I would rather see Clemson, to be honest, play in the college football playoffs. Miami, if you were to me choose, right? I do think Miami and Clemson are both better than SMU, but I don't know. It'll be really interesting to see how that tiebreaker works out if Miami and Clemson win out, because SMU currently is undefeated in the ACC still, and it's not like they play a super tough schedule the rest of the way. And so I don't know how those tiebreakers work out, but Clemson would have a win over Pitt, Virginia Tech. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that all looks like, but the tiebreaker might be interesting. It might favor Clemson. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into it.
It's kind of. Well, I think Miami right now controls their destiny because the common opponent that they have is Louisville, and Miami beat Louisville. Clemson beat Miami, or Clemson beat Clemson lost to Louisville. So that's Miami controls their own destiny, and so does SMU. So I think you're gonna have to see Wake Forest or Syracuse upset Miami, but obviously there's blood. There's blood in the water right now for Miami. I do think this bye week was much needed. Hopefully you can get more healthy. Hopefully you can get back to playing good football. Start fast. How about that? What a novel concept for this Miami football team, and not go down early. Give yourself a good spot in the second half. Yeah, it's absolutely kind of crazy. And for the ACC here, how about SMU coming in from the American? And obviously, I know their schedule has been pretty light. We talked about that. They got a huge favor in
They beat Louisville.
but they beat Louisville. They beat Pitt. Duke all of a sudden 7 wins. Florida State was supposed to be a tough game, and they've obviously done it. Their only loss right now is the BYU football team that's still undefeated somehow, which is,
Yeah.
I guess, again, credit to them as well. But how about the American? Let's talk about the American, the former American teams, right? Or how about past and present here with Tulane and Army putting in work? Obviously, SMU putting in work in the ACC. You've got Cincinnati and Houston doing some frisky things as well in there in the Big 12. It's pretty fun to watch, and happy for some of the conference realignment, some of the teams having early success in their new conferences. It's fun to see.
Yeah, that's always nice to see. Maybe I'm overlooking SMU because I just know for a fact that Miami and Clemson are more talented than they are. And I guess Clemson didn't look all that great this past weekend either, so took them 4 quarters to kind of figure that out. But I don't know. Is this an indictment? Like, obviously, it's hard to calibrate right for playing within conference. You really got to look at your best data points, right? Are like looking outside of the conference and how did your conference do outside of its own conference, and the ACC did what I believe is pretty decently. I have to look back and check, but it just feels like there's a lot of and I guess this is a lot of across different conferences. I'm just not wowed, right, by really any team in the ACC. I'm not really wowed by any team in the Big 12. In fact, I'm not really wowed by any team in the SEC this year. When I mean wowed, I mean like national championship contenders, right? So I think this game kind of, I mean, obviously there's teams that are talented enough to win the whole dang thing, like once they get in, but it's playing at a consistent level, for because now that you're a 12-team playoff, you got to do it for 3 games,
Yeah.
potentially, depending where you sit, 4 games potentially where you 4 games, right? I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so it's Miami team definitely showed its vulnerabilities here.